Good evening. Kalispera. One of the beautiful joys of having one Greek Orthodox seminary in the country is that when one is studying there, one meets literally seminarians from all over the country and all over the world. And one of the incredible joys that we all had, all of us students, and I'm sure the faculty felt the same way, was welcoming Orthodox seminarians coming from the continent of Africa and hearing the amazing and inspiring stories about how Orthodox Christianity is spreading like wildfire in Africa. In other parts of the world as well, ones that tend to be poor, not because they're not educated, of course, but because people who are poor need hope, and they feel perhaps a tenderness and an attachment to faith a little bit more acutely than those of us that have everything we want. But I digress. There were several seminarians who were there who had already been ordained priests, and they were there to complete a Master of Divinity. And just hearing their stories were so incredible. Building churches is one thing. They are building churches left and right in Africa. But they cannot even build seminaries in Africa fast enough, hence why we have a lot of students here, or a handful anyway. And when I talk about building, we're not even talking about building elaborate structures. We're talking about finding desks and books and pencils from wherever you can, and maybe computers here and there as well. But one particular priest who served at the chapel from time to time was named Father David. He is now Bishop Neophytos of West Kenya? I'm not even sure. They created a metropolis for him, a diocese for him. He's come to the United States since then to kind of speak to parishes in this country about the work that they are doing in Africa and to raise support from the Orthodox faithful here. But I recall his liturgies being so incredibly beautiful and humble. And whenever he'd come give a sermon, often he would give a talk about experiences that he had in his home country. One particular story that he told us was this little church that had been established near his village. And again, when I talk about church, we're talking about dirt floors still, and icons that people move in, whatever they have. And they just enjoy, and they are so full of joy. If you've seen on Orthodox websites, maybe on YouTube or on Facebook, how people are dancing during the liturgy and how they're beating drums while they're receiving communion and so on. Well, there was one person in the village who had cancer. And this cancer was, if I remember correctly, inoperable or at least very severe. And this man, just out of faith, out of what he knew, I don't know if he had become Orthodox during his life or during his adulthood, or if he'd been baptized as a child, but either way, he turned to his faith in this very difficult time in the most pure form, as we hear about when we hear about these kind of, if you'll excuse the expression, virgin countries, virgin lands that are being brought into the faith. And this man, because of what he had heard and because of his convictions in his faith, said, I will go to the Mother of God to pray to her for my affliction. And every day he was going to their church and he was kneeling in front of the icon of the Panagia. And he was praying and praying and praying. One day after the next, after the next, after the next. And I don't remember the detail. I'm fuzzy on the details because it has been a long time, at least 15 years since I heard this sermon. But his grace, then at the time it was Father, but his grace was sharing that over the period of months, going every day to the Mother of God, his cancer was cured. It was something very inspirational to his grace and something that he wanted to share with all of us there, because if one opens one's eyes and heart, more importantly, one does see miracles around them. And my point tonight in sharing this with all of you is not to say that we can get anything we want from the Mother of God, because only God knows what our life's plan is. Of course, he does not want anyone to die or be in pain. That's not what we were created for. We were created as Adam and Eve were, to be in the garden in unity and harmony with him. But one day that will come again. In the meantime, however, for those of us praying this beautiful service of the Salutations for the fourth and final time of the canon, before the Akathist anyway, next week, I would like to simply underline and illustrate the point that prayer to the Mother of God is very powerful. Because, like any good mother who cares about her children, there is an incredible love that she has for all of us, especially in our afflictions. Let us remember that we can always pray to her, and that her love for us and her intercessions for us are alive, are very much alive, as I said recently in one of my sermons, because our faith is alive. Our faith is real, and our faith is continually vibrant. Not something that we venerate, that we think about that happened a long time ago. Yes, there's that, but there's also very much a living, breathing organism that we call the church. Let us remember that the prayers of a righteous person avail much, and the prayers of the Mother of God lead to a great deal of love, and affection, and peace in our life. May we have her intercessions and her prayers as we continue on this journey of great and holy Lent. Nasta kala, kalinichta. Good night. Please come forward.